begin here with the first module, Initialize a Project. In the first section, Customize Option Settings, the exam objective may include, but is not limited to, setting default task types, manual versus auto scheduling, project options, calendar options, customized ribbon and quick access toolbar, that is, establishing the behavior and the look and feel of Microsoft Project 2013. The importance of this particular section is that it sets up the foundation of your project plan. When launching Project 2013 for the very first time, users will see this tutorial. Clicking the Start starts the tutorial. Clicking Skip Intro will display the Gantt chart view of this Welcome to Project file. Next time project is launched, the following start screen will display. Notice the Welcome to Project file name in the recent project list. New project files can be initiated from here using a variety of available online templates, Excel workbook, and/or SharePoint task list. Clicking on Open Other Projects displays the Backstage Open page. To return to the Start page, click the left arrow in the upper left corner or the Escape key from the keyboard. In order to disable the behavior of having the Start page display every time you launch project, uncheck the Show Start Screen when this application starts checkbox. To navigate to this option, click Options, then General, which is under the Start Options section at the bottom of the General page of the Project Options dialog. Good practices dictate that setting the date format field in the General page of the Project Options dialog to include and display the time of day will make it easier to comprehend, validate, and/or troubleshoot the sum of durations for a sequence of tasks, particularly when durations include non-whole numbers, that is, durations with fractions. Creating a new project using the blank project template option uses a file named global.mpt as its template. The option settings made within this project options window can be incorporated into this global.mpt when all new projects option is selected from the drop-down menu that is found on the right side of the gray colored section titles that are in each of the project option pages. By default, only the active project is affected by changes made to the option settings on these pages. If no drop-down is displayed on the section title row, then the changes within that section get applied and saved to the respective computer's Microsoft Windows registry. As such, regardless of who and or where the project file is created or modified, the active or open project file will inherit and adhere to the settings of that computer's Microsoft Windows registry. For example, if a user prefers to have assignment units displayed as a decimal instead of a percentage, then any files they open will display accordingly. And here we begin the calendar options subsection. Here on the schedule page of the project option window, the week starts on field establishes which day of the week, example Sunday, will be used as the boundary from one week to the next. It ensures that when values and calculations are made on a day-by-day or lesser time interval, that they will fall into and roll up into the appropriate week column, as is the case with a time phase view formatted to display weeks, as shown here. Using the zoom functionality that we will cover later, we will be able to expand the time scale day by day, as shown here. The field fiscal year starts in. If fiscal periods do not align with a yearly calendar, then the user may choose to establish the month that denotes the beginning of the organization's fiscal year. In doing so, time phase and other graphical views will display and count off time periods, that is, months, quarters, years, accordingly. See here, for an example where February has been set in the fiscal year starts in field. Notice that the years and quarters start in February as opposed to January. The use start year for fiscal year numbering. If this is selected, this establishes the current year as the fiscal year start year. The field default start time. When a start date is entered in your schedule without specifying a time will be set based on the value entered. The default end time. Well, when a finish date again is entered without specifying a time will be set based on the value that you enter in this field. Note, the text in the fields to the right of the default start time and default end time on the schedule options page must align with the project calendar start and end times respectively. In the calendar options for the project section, it is imperative that the hours per day field be well understood and set accordingly. We all know that there are 24 hours in a day, but in project, we need to define and tell it what a day means, or is defined as, from a project plan or business day perspective. Project uses this field to convert person effort, known as work in project, and duration values entered or displayed from days format into hours format. Project knows that there's 60 minutes in an hour, but does not know how many hours are in what you or your organization define as a day. That is, the definition of the day varies from organization to organization. So this field allows us to establish and model what a day means for you and your organization. Albeit, we can typically make a determination for how many hours per week there should be. We cannot do so for days per month because from month to month, the reality is that it would probably vary. So as such, we must settle for a single value, example, the default of 20 days, and keep this in mind when deciphering or interpreting values displayed and or formatted in months. Next, we'll be speaking about manual versus auto scheduling task mode. Any new task that is created will have its task mode set according to the scheduling mode that was set for the project file. The scheduling mode, manually scheduled or auto scheduled, for the project can be set either by clicking New Task, just found on the bottom left of the application window, that is slightly right of the Ready Status indicator, or through the menus, File, Options, Schedule, New Task Created. In the manually scheduled mode, new tasks are created with their task mode set accordingly, that is, manually scheduled. This extends certain liberties and permits users to enter text, that is, comments, directly in fields such as duration, start, and finish. This is useful when drafting, building, and developing a project plan because it permits the users to enter comments that will help them capture questions or other comments that they may have regarding the task. This will enable the user to return to, refine, resolve, and or establish the required details at a later time. In the auto-scheduling mode, users are not permitted to enter anything other than what the field is ultimately formatted for, and project includes and takes control of the task date calculations, respecting logical links, etc. By default, Project 2013 is set to manually scheduled mode. An understanding of task types is essential in leveraging and controlling project calculations. The scheduling engine consists of managing and adhering to the following formula in calculating dates and costs. Duration equals units times work. New tasks will take on the task type that is defined by this default setting found in scheduling options for this project section,
of the File tab, Project Option Menus, Schedule page. The default task type can be set to fixed duration, fixed units, or fixed work. Each of these will preserve and keep constant the respective value in the formula. The formula duration equals units times work. The task type for a task will most likely need to be changed from its default to accommodate different planning situations and scenarios, or changes that will be described more in detail in later sections. If the majority of projects tasks are effort-driven, then it would make sense that the default task type were set to fixed work. This would eliminate the need to change the task type when entering task estimates and assigning resources to those tasks.
Here we present you with a customized ribbon. The ribbon can be customized through the Project Options dialog via the Customize Ribbon page. An example of a modification that may be considered to be made to the main tabs is adding the Developer tab. This is true if you intend, for instance, to do Visual Basic for applications or VBA programming. The Developer menu tab can be enabled by selecting the Developer checkbox when the main tab is selected in the Customize the Ribbon on the right pane of the Customize Ribbon page. See here. Then click OK. Next, we're going to discuss the Quick Access Toolbar. This toolbar can be customized to the Project Options dialog yet again via the Quick Access Toolbar page. An example of a modification that may be considered to be made to the Quick Access Toolbar is adding the indent name and move incomplete parts to status date, which are not found on the ribbon or are difficult to locate. Simply find these commands in the left window pane of the Quick Access Toolbar page with all commands selected in the Choose Commands From drop-down, and click the Add button that is in the middle of the window pane to these commands over to the right window pane. Click OK.
Note, it's possible to add functionality on the Quick Access Toolbar by right-clicking objects on the ribbon.
This concludes our section on customizing option settings.